So I'll talk a little bit about the importance of this show and what you're about to see, the incredible works you're about to see. Living with the Gods is about how every society has a shared set of beliefs that go beyond the life of the individual and create a common identity. We have, throughout time, given form to these spiritual beliefs via artistic means. And it is in these beliefs that we understand our existence and how we organize society. From the mysteries of our origins to how we order time, religion answers the big questions. It does exactly that and creates community, which are two of religion's essential qualities. Religions define and divide peoples and are the prevalent driving force for politics throughout human history. Pharaohs and Roman emperors connected their identities with their gods. Chinese emperors ruled with the mandate of heaven. Henry VIII's Reformation radically changed the lives of his subjects. And our first pilgrims came to the United States, or the New World, seeking refuge from religious persecution. Current events offers us a constant reminder that even today, faith shapes the global public debate, sometimes to catastrophic ends. Multiple wars raging as I speak around the world are being fought today on religious terms. This exhibition is important now. Is it possible for us to find a pluralist global narrative that might embrace everybody in our newly hyper-connected world? This is a question of life or death for many. Who are we is perhaps the greatest political and existential question of our time. Paul Gauguin, the subject of a concurrent MFAH exhibition, knew this. Perhaps his greatest work, What Are We, Where Do We Come From, Where Are We Going, operates through a prevalence of religious reference. On the question of who we are, it's about what we believe. These bold claims and significant questions you might recognize from Neil McGregor's book, Living with the Gods, published in 2018. Before it was a book, it was a radio program hosted by the BBC, one of Neil's very popular ones. And for both, he used the vast collections of the British Museum to help make sense of his philosophical and political puzzle. Neil McGregor is the former director of the British Museum, the National Gallery in London, and the Humboldt Forum in Berlin. And 3 years ago, he was approached by our director, Gary Tinnerow, about bringing his questions here to curate this show with the MFAH's collections. This exhibition is therefore unique to the book and the podcast in that he is applying his methodology on a vastly different set of data. This exhibition is also physically realized and takes place in Houston. Neil was very aware of this opportunity, a chance for his pluralist global narrative to be tested against the most diverse city in the United States. And Neil's thesis persists. This show supposes that all religions throughout time and across the globe are similar. This argument could not be made without the use of a collection like the MFAH's, which, as an encyclopedic museum, aims to be representative of the broadest spectrum of human achievement. And I'm quoting from our mission statement. And this show very much illustrates this point. There are 250 objects within it, more than half of which come from our own stores, and every curatorial department had a hand in mounting this exhibition. The objects within it span 4,000 years and come from around the world. This exhibition shows how powerful a collection like ours is or has come to be. Before its founding 100 years ago, this museum started as a collection of old master copies for the use of students. But since then, the museum has experienced a meteoric rise. Starting essentially from scratch, this institution now houses over 70,000 objects. The MFAH is an oddity in that it did not begin with a collection, but instead built one. This exhibition is a celebration of the museum in its 100 years, how far its collection has come, the strength of its staff and leadership, its worldwide acclaim, and the incredible community it has come to serve. Quite recently, the museum could still be described as having its particular strengths, which is a backhanded compliment that it would never get today. Ours is now a collection of universal strength, quality, and breadth. The museum's worldwide reputation I will prove by telling you about two of this show's many incredible and unbelievable loans. It's respected that objects under our care will be displayed in their best light, safe from damage, and enjoyed thoroughly by an engaged and intelligent Houston audience. This allows for some extraordinary moments. First, the museum worked closely with St. Catherine's Monastery at the foot of Mount Sinai, which is the oldest continuously inhabited monastery in Christian tradition. Built in the 6th century by the order of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, who another notable building of his would be the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. But the monastery houses the relics of St. Catherine and protects within its walls the burning bush itself, survived thousands of years from when God spoke to Moses through it. Father Justin, from St. Catherine's but born in Texas, brought us leaves from the burning bush, which are now installed in the exhibition right there, to be enjoyed alongside works of art that represent those very leaves and the flame that burned but did not consume them. In this gallery sits the largest silver object ever made, the Ganga Jali. It's a giant urn made for the Maharaja of Jaipur and was used in 1902 to carry enough water from the river Ganges so that the Maharaja could travel from India to the coronation of Edward VII in London and back without losing access to that spiritually significant water. This is the first time that the Ganga Jali has left India since, and it took a lot of convincing. But as Neil McGregor says, there's an unofficial rule in the art world: you don't say no to Tinaro. There was also only a little anxiety when 8 of our achieved art handlers lifted it onto its pedestal, and I can only imagine how that was done in 1902. This exhibition is also an amazing feat of installation and logistics. But these incredible loans also speak to the democratic sentiment inscribed on this campus's first building, Museum of Fine Arts, erected by the people for use of the people. The words mimic Abraham Lincoln's great unifying speech, and the date those words were carved into the museum's facade is actually closer to 1863 than we are to it. As Gary Tinaro said, what was aspirational in 1924 has become a reality. The museum is now a place for all people. Our collection is now incredibly diverse, but no more powerfully has this democratic idea been represented than in this exhibition. Objects that were once made for Maharajas, prophets, popes, pharaohs are now here for us. With such a large variety and number of objects brought together, this show will astonish you. You will see familiar objects from the collection in wholly unfamiliar settings. This show dissolves the usual distinctions of time, geography, scale, technique, medium, instead presenting objects to you with an entirely different way of seeing. Where else can you see a large Vanuatuan slit drum juxtaposed with a small American ring? Vishnu converses with Venus, Christ with Buddha, living artists with ancient ones. The process of creating this exhibition involves selecting art with similar purposes. This unusual method is daring, but yields powerful results. Objects that would never have been seen together in any traditional sense are brought together in harmonious dialogue. This is the work that lays behind Neil's pluralist global narrative. In these terms, this exhibition is also the capstone of the MFAH's World Faiths Initiative, which honors the diverse communities of Houston and inspires connections amongst cultures and beliefs. This initiative seeks to give back to objects in the collection their religious power and dimension. In its 100 years of collecting as an art museum, objects have entered the collection after passing through an aesthetic eye. This show focuses on their spiritual qualities. And you're about to see incredible works of art that give form to spiritual beliefs. Within this show are veritable masterpieces, and I will talk about some of them now and the structure of the show as well. The first object you see is that lone star, the beginning of the galleries. It was one of a series created by the Texas artist Thomas Glassford, and its title is Aster 350 T12 5000K. The first 3 numbers reference its dimensions, and the rest reference the bulb type and its temperature. This is similar to the nomenclature for stars, and using fluorescent bulbs, it also emits visible UV light in the same manner as an actual star. The extending rays evoke a supernova, and stars, like our sun, are seemingly infinite in relation to our lives. But here we might be witnessing one's death, a cosmic event typically so far from us that it takes light emitted from it millions of years to reach our night sky. Aster is part of the gallery, which asks the question, what is our place in the universe? How do we make sense of our existence? Many faith traditions have looked to the sky to ponder this very question. The Icelandic artist, Olafur Eliasson's Your Lunar Nebula, which comes at the end of the gallery around that corner, is a composition of shining crystal balls. The piece takes the form of a celestial grouping, a galaxy, or as the title suggests, a nebula, but it also is reminiscent of a comparatively minuscule collection of water droplets. Between this immense range of scale, if you look closely within each ball, you find yourself, although you are turned upside down. Where do we fit between heaven and earth? The next section, the one most of you are standing in, is Waters of Life, which explores the fact that humanity has always found greater significance in water beyond it being one of our basic needs. This gallery primarily compares the Hindu ritual bathing in the river Ganges with the Christian baptism, both spiritually cleansing acts. Here you'll find the legendary Gangajali. Light, Fire, and Flame, which is this next gallery, is about different religions finding aspects of the divinity in fire. In this gallery, you'll find an incredibly unique Annunciation scene made by the American artist Tanner around the time electric light was first invented in the late 19th century. Instead of a figural angel Gabriel appearing before Mary, the artist depicts a shaft of radiant electric light. Another of this exhibition's supreme loans is El Greco's Pentecost from the Prado. It's a masterpiece by one of the Renaissance's most esteemed artists. In this gallery, it sits beside two Greek icons, and excitingly, this is the first time American audiences can see the Western and the Eastern Christian tradition compared side by side. Please get lost in the giant skull in the next gallery. It was created by the provocative group from Argentina, Grupo Mondongo. Up close, you notice the skull is made up of an unbelievable number of miniature sculptures that reference icons of pop culture. Identifying each of these is a fun game until you step back and are confronted again by this large, terrifying skull. This is an effective memento mori, a reminder of our own mortality, in a gallery focused on the mystery of life and of death. But there's comfort to be found next door, which contains the many protectors and spirits that different faith traditions appease or employ to help get us through life. The crocodile spirit from Papua New Guinea you might recognize from the permanent collection. Displaced not far from its original gallery, next to the Cruz Diaz Tunnel, it takes on an entirely new meaning and strength in this incredibly diverse room. The center of the exhibition compares two unique religions, Christianity and Buddhism, which each meditate on a singular human body. The likenesses of Christ and Buddha are universally recognizable, yet completely invented. For their particular similarity, the two traditions also depart. Christianity meditates on the suffering of Christ, as Buddhism meditates on the serenity of Buddha. These rooms are stunning. Tender and compassionate, or gut-wrenching and dynamic, the crucifixion takes many forms. Works from old masters such as Bernini, Murillo, Zubron, or highly celebrated modern and contemporary masters such as Willem de Kooning and Johnson surround you in this room. You might here also realize the extreme specificity of oil painting in religious art. On the other side, the fascinating life of Buddha is relayed through incredible sculptures from around the world. Look out for the rare example of the ascetic Buddha, which depicts the suffering he endured before he discovered the middle path, the serene path to enlightenment. In Divine Bodies, the exhibition explores how you might recognize a god. Two traditions are again compared in this room, the Greco-Roman and the Hindu. In this room, you'll have a very physical encounter with the gods. For the Hindu tradition, a god is more arms, more faces, more than human. In the Greco-Roman tradition, a god is ideal, perfect features, immaculate proportions, and pristine musculature. We've thus far talked about incarnated versions of God, but in the next gallery, those religions that inverbate God are shown to have produced magnificent artistic traditions. The three Abrahamic faiths are represented here. The Gutenberg Bible was enabled by the invention of the movable type printing press in the West. and represents the artistic traditions that allowed the Christian word to spread. The Islamic word becomes famously beautiful and universal. In this gallery, Quranic verses decorate mosque roundels, small emeralds, and personal clothing. The Jewish tradition honors the word by decorating the Torah with sumptuous adornments. The design of these also tells a story of assimilation or national pride and the waves of the diaspora. The next gallery is about how the divine is found within the act of sharing food. Velázquez, the most important Spanish painter of his time, appears twice in this gallery. One of his pictures is from the National Gallery of Ireland, and one is from our own collection. This is an incredible moment, as these two paintings depicting the same scene are together for the first time in the States. On top of that, our Velázquez, thought to be a copy, was only recently rediscovered as an original. The abstract divine includes a supreme work by Gerhard Richter. Originally commissioned by the Pope for a chapel dedicated to St. Francis, the paintings were rejected because they were too abstract. This work carries forward through abstraction the artistic potential for intense spirituality. The final gallery focuses on pilgrimage, which is the primary example of religious community. Millions embark on pilgrimage every year from many faith traditions. The exhibition leaves you with this powerful idea, which drives home its points of unity and achieves, at least for me, Neil's aims for a harmonious narrative of religion, art, history, and life. As he says himself, living with the gods is about living with each other. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited for you to see this incredible show, and I will be around with you if you want to talk further about any of the art.